All right, let's talk about the guy who seemingly can't stop beating Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes seemingly owns everybody except for Burrow, who owns him. Obviously, they don't play against each other, so it's not really fair to bring it up. But why does Joe Burrow just consistently beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and why do the Bengals consistently beat the Kansas City Chiefs? Well, it just seems like they match up really well against them. The Chiefs are going to play a lot of cover 2 zone in this game. That's the coverage you see on the screen right now. And I think that might be an aspect of it. Is in the past they had played some, single safety deep, a lot of man type stuff, and not really single safety deep, but they sort of have 2 safeties deep, but often be blitzing. And when they did that, Jamar Chase would get one-on-one matchups down the field, get these big touchdowns. So instead, they are playing this zone coverage, but the Chiefs just aren't as good at this stuff as they are when they're playing man and playing their typical scheme. And I think this is why the Bengals have really been able to frustrate the Chiefs. What they're doing here is just a quick zone buster. This isn't anything fancy. Burrow takes the snap. Burrow is going to look down the field, and you see right here, the reality is, if I'm a quarterback right here, I probably just throw the check down. That's probably what I do. But one of the values of Burrow is he seemingly just sees stuff that the average person, when they're watching tape, doesn't see right away until after they've seen the play develop. Watch him hesitate, which gets one of the Chiefs players to move in, and because of that, he then throws over the top and gets his tight end for a first down and gets more yards. And just the thing of Burrow is, one of the reasons why Burrow plays well against the Chiefs is because he plays well against everyone. He's a really good quarterback. Like this one's another example. It's going to be a zone coverage play. You again have a player who's going to try to get into a gap in coverage, kind of over the middle area, right in between the safeties and kind of underneath the safeties, but past the middle linebacker. That's the goal here. Joe Burrow takes the snap. Joe Burrow is going to look in that direction, and I've paused it right here. The ball is just out of his hands, but you see there's a window to make this throw, but it's not a wide open window. There's 2 Kansas City players. You're going to have to thread the ball through. You can't throw it too high because if you overthrow it, it's going to be an interception, but you don't want to throw it too low because if you throw it too low, then it could be an interception. These are difficult throws, and part of why Burrow, why this has happened is just good play from Burrow. Watch as you see just a beautiful throw, and they're able to pick up a big gain on that one. The reality is you put Burrow in a situation where he has to make tough throws consistently, and if, that's your defensive game plan, it's not the worst defensive game plan, but against Burrow, it usually doesn't work out because Burrow's just really good. Burrow is, Patrick Mahomes and Burrow are 2 of the best quarterbacks in football. Like this one's another example of this time it is going to be a man coverage play. So, okay, here we go. Let's not just run the same coverage over and over again because they know how to pick that apart. Sure, I agree with that logic. And they're not even going to look towards Jamar Chase's way on this one. It's T. Higgins. He's going to be the guy on the outside who, T. Higgins, he's a great player. We saw him, really show you can run an offense around him when Chase was out there, but you ideally like to not have to and like to have him as a 2 because that makes this offense even better. And, one-on-one matchup, it's slightly more favorable than the Jamar Chase matchup. That's why they're looking in this direction. Burrow takes the snap. Burrow is going to look towards Higgins' way, who is, open, but not wide open. Like there's, he's done a good job of kind of boxing him out. So he has the good angle. Burrow has an angle to make this throw, but there's not a lot of separation. So, okay, maybe you'll get the catch, but will you get the first down here? I don't know. You have to get to the 4-yard line. That'll be tough. But Burrow makes this throw, and Higgins doesn't just get to the 4-yard line. Higgins is going to find a way to get into the end zone on that play. Again, they just have star players. Like this Bengals team is just a legitimately awesome football team. Like that's why they're able to win is because they're really good. And they struggled early on this season, had a couple weird games. They've been fluky. But again, there's just no denying that when this Bengals team is on, they're almost a little similar to the Bills in that sense of like, they're not always on, but when they're on, they just look unstoppable. And that's, unfortunately for the Chiefs, seems like every time these 2 teams get together, the Bengals are on. And like this one's another one, because even though you see the Chiefs playing some zone coverage, doesn't mean you can't get some one-on-one matchups with Jamar Chase, and that's kind of what's happening here, as it's a cover 3 zone, but still, that's single safety deep. So you run a deep shot, the corner is the only guy who can get into the play, so if you're the Bengals, you certainly like your odds in this scenario because Jamar Chase is just one of the most difficult receivers to cover one-on-one in football. Watch as Joe Burrow takes the snap, and you're going to see that for Chase, starts off getting to inside leverage, but then gets to the outside. So again, there's 2 ways you could do that, right? You could just immediately try to get the outside leverage. The benefit is that gives you a bit of a better position, but the downside is that the defensive team that you're going up against can now kind of figure out what you're doing. Whereas you get the inside leverage, you can fool the opponents, but now you have to be in a bit more of a difficult position. But with the way Chase cuts, he gets the inside leverage, gets Kansas City to think he's going over the middle, freezes the safety over the middle, but now he's ready to get to the outside and is still in good position because he's Jamar Chase. He's really good. Watch as Burrow puts this one perfectly on the money because, again, those guys have great chemistry, and Chase is able to make a great move after the catch. I mean, look at him go. Unbelievable stuff, what Jamar Chase can do. And again, you have to give credit to Burrow for what he's able to do and how he put the ball into perfect position. So when you have that combination, it's difficult for any team to stop, especially a team like the Chiefs that kind of aren't built to do that. They're not built. They don't have a shutdown corner, right? That's not their defensive game, and so it can work really well defensively when they're not going up against a great number one option. But when there's a Jamar Chase on the field, every team's going to struggle, and Kansas City is one of those teams. Also heading over here now, so this is going to be a zone coverage play. It's going to be a play action, receiver running over the middle. And this is, I want to finish off with this play because this is a great example of really how the Bengals are able to operate when they're at their best. Is we know about the other stuff, right? We know about those explosives. And I should mention, that is the real reason they're able to be so successful, is the way that they're able to get explosives. If you can get explosives at a consistent rate, which the Bengals can, you're going to win football games. You just are, right? Like, that's just going to help you. But the way that you can win championships, or at least get to the championship game like they did last year in the Super Bowl, was being able to not just do that, but also do little things and move the ball down the field methodically when you have to. It's not a choice. You would choose to get the explosives, but if you can't, still get the other plays to happen. And this is a great example of it. It's a very basic play. You get linebackers to move in, throw over the top of them with the play action. But Burrow takes the snap, and you're going to notice that this play is working out incredibly well. If you want to blame the Chiefs defense, fine, you can. Chiefs defense has not been bad this year. It's not been amazing either, but it's not been bad this year. Like, this is not a bad defense. It's different than what we've seen in past years with the Chiefs, but the reality is this Bengals offense can make any defense look bad at times, and that's kind of what they're doing here. Burrow makes the throw, and they are able to pick up a big chunk play. So I think what's fair to say is, what do we make of this win for the Bengals moving forward? How optimistic should we feel if we are, if you're a Bengals fan, how optimistic should you feel? Looking at their schedule, the final 5 games, it's actually not that difficult at all. Now, granted, they play the Browns next week, who they lost to and got, didn't look good against in that game. Jamar Chase had just gone down. Maybe they hadn't fully figured out how to deal with that yet. I still think the Bengals win that game. You then play Tampa Bay, who, listen, Tom Brady can make some magic happen in the final 2 minutes. I don't know if this game will come down to the final 2 minutes, though. They then play the Patriots on Christmas Eve, the Bills week 17, and then the Ravens that cap off the season. Lamar probably would be back by then. But, the reason why I'm bringing up the schedule is when I did my predictions and I predicted every game down the stretch and just to see what happens, I had the Bengals winning out at this point. I have them ahead of the Bills right now. I do. And that would put them just a game away. If the Chiefs lose one game, I have them winning. That would mean that the Bengals would actually have the 1 seed. That's not out of the question. Now, will that happen? Who can say, right? I mean, that's going to be difficult to point to. And again, the Bengals have, even in their Super Bowl run year, lost some games that they should not have lost to. I mean, they gave up 400 yards to Mike White in that year last year. So definitely there's a way that this could not happen, and I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to get the 1 seed, especially when, seems like Lamar Jackson could be back that final game of the season. Patriots are not a for sure win. The Browns are not a for sure win, as we've seen. The Bills are certainly not a for sure win. But the reality is they have a chance to get the 1 seed. And I also think with Lamar being banged up, they're probably winning the division at this point. I feel pretty confident about that. I'm very high on the Bengals, and I don't think it's just Bengals own the Chiefs. I think it's the Bengals are maybe one of the teams to watch in the AFC. I predicted them to make the Super Bowl heading into the season, and it's looking very possible at this point because of their great passing attack. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.